Hey friends, welcome back. This week I had the pleasure of chatting with Lorie Strange about all things real estate. Lorie has been a realtor for 2 decades and knows the ins and outs of home ownership. She's traveled, raised a family, run her own business, and now helps people find their dream homes. On the show this week, we chat about where the market's at right now, along with misconceptions both buyers and sellers often bring to agents. Lorie shares some great advice for first-time buyers, as well as emphasizing the emotional aspect of purchasing and or selling a home. Lori's a dear friend, and I so enjoyed getting to chat with her and learn more about her world. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and experiences about the topic as well. Be sure and leave a comment with your real estate stories so we can keep the conversation going. A huge, huge thank you to Lorie for taking time to come on the show. I hope you enjoy her insight and the laughter and get some practical tips for dealing with real estate. Don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Time to settle in, turn up the volume, and enjoy the conversation. When we moved to Florida, everyone kept asking. They were like, "Oh, so like you gonna buy a house or what are you doing?" We were like, "I know nothing about why would I buy a house when I don't know
I don't know where I'm at or what I'm doing.
anything about
Yeah.
the market and where we would want to live and where
Mhm.
stores are and where activities are going to be." So no, we're not buying a house. So
Yeah. Nope.
it's
It's always, if you move someplace you know nothing about, it's always good to rent for a while. I mean, I have clients that do that. I help them find a place to rent and then they decide where they want to live.
well because you just like, and every time I've moved across the country for a job, I've done the same thing where I pretty much pick where we're living based on proximity to work and the drive to work, with
Yeah.
few exceptions, because
Mhm.
that's the only point of reference I have. And
Yeah.
then after living somewhere for a year, you're like, oh, well, we go to church over there and we go to this over there. And
Right.
we don't
This is our
necessarily need to
favorite
live
store and yeah.
right by work anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
That's a
it
good
kind of
point.
natural segues.
Mhm. Yes,
How's
I agree.
the market these days?
Well, it's a little slow right now. That doesn't always happen in January, but it's kind of a natural, like, get everything. A lot of people are like, oh, we think we want to list and getting that kind of like you all did. Like, let's start talking about it. And so, and then with the weather being this bad, there's not a lot of people that want to go out showing, but I do have showing
That's fair.
tomorrow and got a couple new clients on the, horizon, things we're doing. So that's good. But, it's good because it gives me January to kind of like get my ducks in a row and get organized a little bit. I just went through my contact database has a filter I can use that says like this email was undeliverable. And so it's not people that have said they don't want my newsletter. It's just people that aren't getting it because they changed their emails
Yeah.
over the years. And so I went through that and gosh, I don't know how many I started out with, but I just finished it the other day. Like it took me probably 3 days of just like continually going through and seeing if it was somebody that I didn't even remember their name. Like maybe they just came to an open house and
Yeah.
gave us a bogus email or, because that happens, people are like, I don't want you to contact me.
People
So
have their burner emails.
yes, exactly. And so I got those all down. I'm waiting on maybe, 5 or 10 people to get back to me that I know are in the area and still might be interested in, me reaching out to them. So yeah, that's, that kind of gets my database cleaned up a little bit so that I can start the year strong in February.
That's still time to get
Yeah,
going.
that's true.
Everyone is
So,
like, I feel like January is this weird, like you're in the new year, but you're still in the last year and nobody really knows
oh
like
my
what
gosh.
the groove's going to look like and what plans are going to
Hmm.
look like. And then February rolls around and everyone goes, okay, now
Now
we're
let's get
fully there.
going. Yeah. Yeah. I see that a lot in real estate and in just life in general, obviously. Um, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. And people start just kind of saying, oh, I want to get my house on the market in spring. So I'm going to start in February. I'm just going to start that process. So, um, but yeah, I just try to keep, contact with people as much as I can. And that way they know I'm here if they need me.
What would you say is the thing you run into most at this time of year of not necessarily problems, but things people don't realize? And like
Mm.
maybe they come to you in like the second week of January and they're like, we want to sell first week of February. Do you run into
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. People just coming in and wanting to do something really quick. And I'm okay with that. I mean, when I took the pictures for the houses years ago, I think probably I about 6 years ago, I was still taking pictures, maybe 7. And so, we would tell people like, hey, we can have your house on the market in 24 hours if it's ready. But, you really have to take the time to stage it, as you just got to make it look right. And especially in this market, it's not really a seller's market anymore. It's more of a even or buyer's market. So your house has to really look good to be able to sell it quickly. So, um, so I always do the staging as we did with you all and just try to get people thinking a little bit early. That's all of my marketing in December and January is about let's start the process early. Even if you're not ready to list until June, let's start it
Do
because
you do you see things go smoother when you start early?
oh yes. The thing of it is that the stager can go through and then people can have, 3 months to pack and to paint and to, do things like that. And obviously not everybody knows 3 months ahead of time when they're going to move,
Right.
but I did have a client last year that I think I talked to in December, and they were sold. I mean, they were going to use me, but they were just kind of iffy. Like, are we really going to move and this kind of stuff? And I was like, well, let's just start the process. Let me get a stager in there just so that you can be ready, And I said, I really think you should list right after spring break because that's everybody's home from spring break and they kind of get a little focused, And I got a call like literally 2 days before their spring break. And they were like, can we just list it before spring break? We're going away. And then that way everybody can see the house. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So the customer's always right. Like, there's a good, there's the perfect plan, then there's a good plan, and then there's a not so good plan, but you still have to work through it.
Right.
I'm just going to
So
do whatever they want to do.
going back a minute, you said it's not really a seller's market right now. It's more of a buyer's market. So
Mm-hmm.
what's the like layman difference between those two? Because I'm pretty sure I always get them backwards in my head. And then I'm like,
Sure. No,
wait, I think
that's
that's
totally,
backwards.
yeah. So since 2020 and up to really early 2024, we were in a seller's market. That means that you could just put a sign in your yard and hire Joe Schmo real estate agent and your house would sell in the weekend. That's just what the market was like. Their houses were flying off the market. I know we had a couple of buyers, I think it was in 2021, and we wrote 12 contracts that got beat out. And then the 13th one worked. And so it's like, so it, you, there was no chance. I mean, everybody was giving over appraised value and
Right.
everybody was waiving inspections. I'm sorry, I think I did something wrong. Everybody was waiving inspections and waiving appraisal and all this kind of stuff. And it's like buyers couldn't compete with that, especially first time home buyers. So that is a seller's market. And that means the seller is king of the world. And in a full buyer's market, the sellers just like wait for months and months and months for people to buy their house.
In
So,
a
and
buyer's market, do you still see like a lot of regular showings in those months, or they're just really not even showings while people are waiting for a house to sell?
there's showings, but they're like, you know, we had one showing this week, two showings next week. You maybe wait a couple weeks and have a showing. It's not just like an influx.
Yeah.
And you really, that's when you need a good realtor to price the house right. And because that first, the first couple weeks is like, it's like a bell curve. Like just ramping up to it, that first couple of weeks is the most important time in a house listing because that's when it's new to everybody. And then the
And is
longer
that
it
because
sits on
people
the
see
market,
houses that come on? Yeah, they see the
yeah,
houses right as they
yeah,
start.
right as they start listing. And I mean, obviously, buyers come along at every process in it. But let's say you're a buyer and a house just came on the market and you go see it and you love it. Well, you're going to write an offer on it. If you come in the process and you're going to write a competitive offer, most likely, you come in the process, the house has been on the market for 45 days and you're just new in the market and you're like, "So what's wrong with that house?" Or I'm
Right.
going to make an offer, but I'm not going to make a very strong offer. And I'm going to ask for inspections and remedies and appraisal and, just that's all very buyer centric. And that's, like I said, we're kind of at it's kind of even right now. But if a house has been on the market for 30 to however many days, it's definitely going to be buyer focused,
Right.
and any offer is going to be buyer focused. So,
What do you
but
think people's biggest misconceptions are when they're going to buy a house or when they're going to
mhm,
sell a house? Maybe we do buying first. Like when people go to
yeah.
buy a house, what do you think they walk in with and they in their head, like in their mind, they've seen Instagram realtors or they've been
Yeah.
shopping for houses on Zillow like I did for months on
Right.
end and they come in and they say,
Sure.
"This is what's in my head." And you go, I wish we
Yeah.
could have talked about this."
Right. So, one of the misconceptions is just for a buyer is the condition of the house. The pictures, and this because of how all the houses we saw, the pictures can look great online. And then you walk in the house and you're like, oh, okay. There's pictures can cover a lot of things, and not even pictures that are trying to hide something. It's
Right.
just, you take a
They're
picture of a
good
room and
pictures.
yeah, they're good pictures. Right. And so that's one of the things. And then the other misconception that buyers can have, depending on what the market is like, is that they can ask like, you know, they can give a big price cut. Like, oh, this house is listed. Let's just use, this house is listed for 300,000. Let's offer 275. And it's like, it just came on the market. Like you're not going to get it for 275.
Yeah.
So that's a misconception also, because buyers always think that, at least in this even market, buyers think they can have everything. And they they can't. They can have a lot more than they can they can't have everything they had before. Well, backtrack. And sellers that think they can't have everything. Buyers think that they can have everything because it's not a seller's market, but it's not completely a buyer's market either. So it really depends on the house. I mean, if you walk into a house and it is pristine condition, I mean, it doesn't matter what the price is, it's going to sell quickly. There
Yeah.
was one that was listed in a nearby neighborhood, and I saw it come up as coming soon, and it was 1.4 million. And I was like, ooh, I'd love to see that house and, like tour it with somebody. And it sold in a day
That's
because it
crazy.
was in such good condition. But then a house can sit at 300,000 and nobody touch it because of the condition. So, so the price doesn't always matter. It's the condition of the house. And so going on to what a seller's biggest misconception is they think that because their neighbor got 50,000 over list, that they can get 50,000 over list,
Right.
or if the seller got 50,000 over list, that they can start at that point and go up from there. And it's like, no, like you, it's a very, I have to really look at the comps when I'm pricing a house, because if it's sold over list, if a comparable home sold over list, that is not really what this market is doing. You have to look at what it was listed for. And
Right.
that's where you want to go at, because that's what attracted people to that house then. And that same price point is going to be what's attracting people now. So
So
a lot of
what
that
causes
depends
it to
on the
go over
neighborhood,
list?
but
Right?
say
Like
that again.
if it's listed somewhere and then it goes for
Mm-hmm.
50,000 more than list, right? And you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
sell and you're like, "Well, Bob next door, they priced it at 300, but they got 350 for it."
Right.
Why does it go so much higher than list? Like what causes that to happen?
So it is kind of like that. I don't know, kind of like that Black Friday excitement of like, oh my gosh, this house is available. It's beautiful. There were 30 people at the open house. They've got 10 offers. People just give over lists because they want it, and they have, like, if somebody was going to put down 30% for a down payment, then they can still put down 20% and have some cash to pay down the appraisal. Or at that 20 to 25, 30% down, they may not even need an appraisal because they're paying so much of the loan up front. So it really, it is just that's just market driven. If you've got, it doesn't happen as much anymore. The multiple offers and the going over list doesn't happen as much anymore, but it was like that for at least 2 or 3 years. And everybody thinks, oh, sellers love that. And they do, to the extent that they get more than they intended for. I mean, when Mike and I sold our house, we got way over what our list price
Right.
was just the right time. And that was great. But it's hard because you see all these people come in to your house and they love it and they write an offer, and you really do just have to go with what is best for you. And you're breaking someone's heart, which is hard for me. I hate that part.
Right.
You're breaking somebody's heart, and somebody's going to be, somebody's going to be thrilled and somebody else is going to be destroyed. And so it's not easy for sellers. And if they don't, in that type of market, if you don't have a realtor that can make those offers apples to apples, then they could accept the wrong offer. Like, if somebody, when this all first started going crazy years ago, somebody would offer over appraisal and they'd say they had the money to pay for it, and then when it came right down to it, they didn't. And
Mm,
so, buddy, you get burnt once and you're never going to get burnt again like that. It's like, I
yeah.
need proof of funds. I need, like, you have to, this is what you're saying that you're going to do. You got to stick to your word. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember, going back to what you said about, like, what was your question? I'm like
Well, just
losing my
the
train of thought.
misconception. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about because so at this point we have both bought and sold a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were buying the house, I had a very hard budget. Like there was not wiggle
Yeah.
room in the budget. Like this is where the budget is. This is what we can
Yeah.
do for a down payment. Like these are our limits. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember it was more when the market was going crazy and you put in
Yeah.
offers and you go, so when you tour the house, you're walking around and you're like, oh, I'm trying to envision like how my stuff fits in here and how our life fits in here. And like, we could do this with that and we could do this with that. And like, you
Mm-hmm.
make all these decisions going, okay, there's a future here. And then you put in the
Right.
offer and it comes back and they go, didn't accept your offer. And it's just this
No.
little like, like
It just kills
heartbreak
you. Yeah,
moment of like,
it
we
is.
had started building like dreams and ideas here because otherwise we
Yeah.
wouldn't buy it because we're buying a house,
We wouldn't offer on it. Yeah.
right?
If you weren't, yeah. So that's what's so hard. And as a buyer's agent, it's my job to like basically counsel my buyers through that kind of situation. Like there's something better. And you don't want to basically, I say, you have to come up with the price that you're willing to pay. And we won't go a penny over that. But what I don't want you to do is wake up next morning and say, I could have spent, I wish I'd spent 5,000 more,
Right.
or I wish I had done this. It's like you have to give your very best offer. Whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry. You have to give your very best offer. And I'm not saying that you have to go over list, but you have to give your best offer because I don't want you to have regrets. And that's the worst thing is if you're like, oh, we could have had that house.
Well, and in that in that seller's market, you don't really get multiple, like there's not really negotiating
Oh,
because they
no,
get
no, no.
offers. So
There's no go.
they're not going to
There's
come
no
back and be
counter
like, well,
offers.
maybe if you give a little more, like there's none of that. It's
No,
just, we've got 10 offers. We're taking the one we like best.
we're taking the best one. Yeah, no, absolutely. And now, I did a deal last year where there was like 6 counter offers. So, I mean, now there's counter offers, there's not multiple people wanting the same house. Now, I have had multiple offers on houses last year, but that's not the norm right now. So, you just like you negotiate with the offer you've got you know, and most buyers are going to give a below list offer unless they're offering that first day.
Right.
And, it's just something that sellers have to basically come to terms with. That's hard after, 4 to 5 years of craziness.
Yeah. It's definitely been like a minute of just crazy house prices and
Oh,
like
yes.
crazy houses moving. And because once again, I like you, a house would go up and it
Hmm.
like the day it goes up, you're like, if we don't see it today and put in an offer today, you're not going
You're
to have
not
an
going to
offer.
get it. No, you're not going to get
They're
it.
like, all the offers have to be in by like, a day or two from now. And you're like, that's crazy.
And they may say offers in a day or two from now, but the first offer in is the best offer. Like that's the only time you're ever going to get that option of them coming back to you. So if I have a buyer that looks on the first day and they love the house, I'm like, let's make an offer now.
Yeah.
Because if you're that first person, then you kind of get a little bit of special treatment. Whereas everybody else knows there was another offer, but you came in,
Well, and
thinking you might be the only one.
it's almost that professional courtesy. And that's something that you and I had talked
Yeah.
about previously of this person put in this good of an offer just because they wanted the house. They didn't put in this
Right.
good of an offer because they knew they were competing against somebody. And so it's almost
Right.
that professional courtesy of, you know, you, me, and
Hmm.
Bob, or, you're
Yeah.
selling a house and I put an offer in and then Bob puts an offer in and maybe it's a little bit more than mine. There's that professional courtesy of you coming to me and saying, hey, I know you put an offer in without any
Right.
competition. There is another offer on the
There
table
is
that if you
another
put in
offer.
that, they're going to have to take,
Right.
but you were here first,
Yes. Nope. That's
which
absolutely right.
makes a
And
big difference.
one thing that we have seen a real lack of in the real estate industry is that professional courtesy. Not a lot of agents, like when it was going crazy before, um, you know, agents would say, we have 10 offers and we'd make an offer for our clients. And then our clients would say the next day, well, I guess we didn't get the offer because it's marked contingent. And we're like, yeah. And the agent didn't tell us that they
Yeah.
accepted another offer. And so I always, if there's multiple offers, it's always every agent gets a call or a text. And if it's a text, it explains why that offer wasn't chosen. And I can't tell you the number of agents that have said to me after that, thank you so much for just letting me know. And what I usually say in the text is that please let me know when you've told your client, because I don't want to mark it in contract until everyone has been told. Because it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And as an agent, it always made me feel bad. It's like I can't I can't control other agents. I can only control what I do. And so I'm always like I my what's the right word? My loyalty is to my customer, my client, but it is in their best interest that I have a relationship with other agents,
Yeah.
that other agents want to work with me, and that I can negotiate with other agents and plead their case with other agents and not just be like, you said this, that doesn't get you anywhere. So,
And
so
I think
that's a
that's
big
a huge
thing.
part of having a good realtor who you trust,
Hmm.
because I wouldn't even, I mean, technically, you can buy a house without a realtor. I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
like, "Well, why do I need a realtor? Like, I can go on Zillow and buy a
Right.
house." But I would have
Yes.
no idea, like, the ins and outs of pricing and negotiations. I'm like,
Right.
"I don't know how to do a counteroffer. Like, there's probably some legal document here, and I have no
Hmm.
idea how to write this."
Right. I mean, it's just one thing that I always look at it as like, if you're going to get your car worked on, you don't want to go to Joe Schmo on the corner that is the cheapest person to work on your car. You want to go someplace that your car is going to run right and work, and you don't have any other issues. So it's like I always try to get people to see that that's what a realtor, I mean, like, I am here to make the process smooth so that you don't have to talk to the seller or the buyer. You don't, like, I'm the go between. And
Oh, and, like, I would
I'm,
never want to talk to a buyer.
no.
Like, I remember, so when we were selling the house, there was one instance where somebody was coming by the house. They needed to do something. I think I don't remember why. I don't think I realized the buyers were going to be there with
Yeah.
whoever was
Might have been
coming to
the
look at
appraisal,
something.
or not the appraisal,
May
but maybe
one
the
of
inspection or something.
Maybe
I
one of
don't
the
know.
inspections for something.
Yeah, because you were working at home, weren't you?
Right, I was, and so
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, I can be home to let people in, just like we have a dog, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the office, and part of me wanted to listen to all their
Yeah.
conversations, and the other part of me was like, I don't wanna know what they're saying, because I love the
No.
house, and I love,
Yeah.
these aspects of the house, and I don't wanna hear what they're
Right.
gonna do to it.
No, I know. I don't want to hear that they're going to rip something out or whatever the
"Let's take
case may
these
be.
cabinets
Yeah.
out, and let's take this wall down, and let's make an open concept." I'm like, "No, I love the rooms, don't do that."
Yeah. I know. I know. And that's the truth. And that's one thing that I tell people about, like, when they get feedback, is like, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Like, you cannot let someone's feedback make you, like, get you crazy. First of all, it's their opinion. And if it's a trend, then we may need to do something about it. But if it's just one person's opinion, it doesn't matter. But if everybody comes in, this is the phrase we've always used. If everybody comes in and says, I don't like the orange shag carpet, I don't like the orange shag. If you get 10 feedbacks on the orange shag carpet, guess what? You need to change the orange shag carpet.
Because people can't see past it.
People can't see past it. But if people come in and they say, oh, that color in that one room is too bright, and nobody else says anything, don't worry about that room. Like, paint. That's all that it takes. And the person can paint it themselves, like,
Right,
after you know what I mean?
right.
Um, we had a client one time, you know this person, but I won't say their name. But they're super, super nice people. And their buyers asked if there's any way that they could paint a couple of rooms. It was almost like a week before closing. And of course, this seller said yes. And Mike and I were like, no, you should not. let them in to paint in a house that's not theirs, you know. So
Yeah.
we were trying to coach them on that, but they let them in, which was, you know, their choice. That's fine. But they were like, we want to paint it. It's going to be a neutral color, whatever. And the sellers had moved out, so they weren't
Okay.
obviously not still living there.
Yeah.
Went back in. They had painted the dining room purple. Purple.
Oh
And I don't mean
my
like
goodness.
lilac. I mean purple. And we called their agent and we were like, listen, it's what's done is done. But if anything happens with this contract, you're going to pay for that to be repainted. We cannot sell that house with a purple
That is
dining
not
room.
a neutral color
No.
at all in
That's
any
why
universe.
that's why you don't let anybody do anything until they close.
Right? Like,
So,
things fall out of contract. We've seen it
yeah.
happen
Yes,
for a myriad. I
unfortunately.
mean,
Yeah.
you've probably seen every reason under the sun that something could fall out of contract.
One fell out of contract one year because the people were, I mean, we were so close to closing that they were calling the cable company, you know, so that we were that
Yep.
close. The cable company pulled their credit, didn't tell them they were pulling their credit. And they were like on the borderline of a credit score, and it pushed them down and they
They had
couldn't
an
get their loan.
inquiry.
Couldn't get their loan.
That is horrible.
They never did buy a house. I mean,
That is terrible.
they bought a house like, you know, like from another person, like their boss or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like but you know, just crazy. Yeah, but
What
we've
is the
seen a lot of
cable
different
company to
reasons.
pull your credit score?
I know. So yeah, I always tell people like, don't do anything. But then of course, before we moved into our current house, sorry, like my hair was stuck into my AirPod. We didn't know we were moving, and we hadn't planned on moving. And the let's see, it was in February. Mike got a option to build a car. Like back then it was very hard to buy cars too. It was like 2022. And so it was like, if you got a chance at a build, like they had one build and you could take it, you know, whatever. So he did. And then in March, this house kind of fell in our lap. And so we were like, oh my gosh, like we sold our house in April. We were buying this in June. And our lender was like, so the realtors are the ones that have bought a car before you're not supposed to get a car loan right before you buy a house. Like that's the biggest no-no in the world. And number one, we're buying a car. Number two, we're self-employed. So those are like the two biggest hurdles for a lender to jump through. We're like,
Double whammy.
yes, it was. So we're like, okay, we are a lender's worst nightmare right now. But it worked. It worked. But it took like right up until closing for sure, because there was all kinds of, you know, just hurdles to jump through. So
I've heard
crazy
stories of people like finding a house, putting an offer in, getting the offer accepted, right? You're going toward closing. Everything is good for closing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll go out and like buy new living room furniture on credit or buy new bedroom suites on credit. Cause they're like, oh, we've got the house. We're good. Everything's passed.
Mm-mm.
How many times have you seen someone do that and then it throws it off and you go, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Can't do that. I just coach people anymore. Like do not get that Lowe's credit card until you walk away from the closing table. Like I just have to tell people that all the time. And the lenders, I mean, I've got great lenders. Like I said, our situation was different because we had not planned on moving. You know what I mean?
Car was first, and then you decided to move.
Yes. And then, but it was in that whole process, you know, like the car arrived in May and the house was closing in June. So it's like, okay, you know, just in the midst of everything. But yeah, in fact, Joshua, my son, is building a new house and real close by. So I'm so excited. And he's living here with me while the house is being built. So we were talking about he needed a refrigerator. And he called this one place that was having a sale. And they're like, oh, yeah, if you open this credit card, you get this many months, same as cash. And he was like, no, I cannot open it. Like, I don't want to do that. So, but it was good because that's so tempting. You just think, I want to buy it when it's on sale. I want to,
Right.
but he did
And then
the
there's the
right
discount
thing.
of the card, and there's this, and then there's that, and it makes it,
Yes.
$400 off my new fridge, and then you're like, "Oh, wait,
Yes.
I want the house."
I know. I want the house. I got to get the house first. So, but he worked it out where they're like, oh, well, we'll do the same, you know, obviously not same as cash if he pays for it, but, we'll do the same deal and we'll hold your refrigerator for you until your house gets built.
That's
And
great.
if the price goes down, we will give you that new price.
That's great.
So, yeah. So that worked out great. But his house will probably be done in March, April,
So
sometime
not too
around
far, pretty
there.
soon.
No, it's been a lot of fun watching it being built.
So
So
on the other end of the spectrum, as a professional realtor in the industry, how much do you love or hate it when people come to you and say, well, on Zillow, because you can be honest, I know I did that.
here's the deal. I don't want to hear what Zillow says about a house, but if you find a house on Zillow, I'm all about you sending it to me. That's perfectly fine. But when it says like, oh, on Zillow, this house says my house should be this much, or this is what that house is valued on Zillow, that doesn't mean anything to me.
How do those
Because
numbers get put in?
Zillow takes like a radius of like, let's say, I don't know how many miles. They take a radius like this and they do all of their comps based on that. Well, you may have this neighborhood that's like $500,000 houses. This neighborhood could be $1 million houses. And then there could be $200,000 houses over here. And they're just mushing them all together. They just do price per square foot. It's like, no, when I'm doing comps, I start immediately with just the neighborhood. And if there's not enough in the neighborhood, then I may go out a little bit, but I'm always looking for similar neighborhoods.
Right.
Houses that sell about the same price and of the same school district. And, because I've had clients say like, well, there's a house that's just like less than a mile away and they're asking this much for it. And I'm like, yeah, but that is a different school district. Like you can't go over school district lines and compare prices.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's you just have to be real careful with those comps but Zillow just kind of lumps everything together. So
how delayed is Zillow? Like if a house goes contingent or closes?
They are a little more delayed because a lot of times people will send me houses on Zillow, especially when the market was going crazy. They'd send me a house on Zillow and I'd look it up on the MLS and be like, it's in contract. Like, that's why I want to set you up with a search on the MLS, because as soon as a house comes on the market, you get it. And then you don't have to wonder about it. So now, with the MLS, it's very exact. Zillow is more, a little more fluid, and people on Zillow set up their own search criteria. So like if you're looking for a house that's, 350, you may say, oh, well, I'll see what's
we'll look up to 4,
up to 375 or up to 4 just to see but I'm not going to change your price on the MLS unless you tell me to. So I don't ever want anybody to be house poor. So I'm never going to tell people, oh, you should get this house, it's more expensive. That's never going to happen. But what I will do is I will look at houses that are above your price point to see if they're priced too high and we should watch them in case the price comes down, or if they've been on the market for over, like, especially now. I'm like, if somebody's got a limit of 350 and there's a house sitting out there for 375 and it's been on the market for 100 days, guess what? Let's go look at that house, because
Yeah.
chances are we can get it for less, you know. So I'm always looking outside the box, but buyers look even more outside of the box. And so,
Yeah.
which is okay. But when they send me something, it may be, not active anymore. It's not as much now as it was when the market was just going crazy, and it doesn't usually, let's say you list a house. I mean, this isn't exact, but let's say you list a house on Thursday and the showings start on Saturday. Well, it may not go on Zillow until Saturday, and then it's in contract by Sunday. So it's just,
Yeah.
it can overlap. But like I said, in this type of market, it's not as bad. But their pricing and their estimates are not good. So not to be
It's what
trusted.
everybody uses.
Yes. But that's why you need to call a
Love
realtor.
Zillow.
Because I'm the one that's going to look at I don't just look at, oh, here's all these houses. I look at the style of the house. I look at all the pictures of the house. I mean, and I go through all the numbers because I'm a mathematician at heart. I mean, that's what was my degree, was in math and computer science. So I'm a mathematician. So I love all the numbers. And so I'm going to work those numbers however I can to make it better for my client, to, compare the right houses and all that kind of stuff. So, numbers don't scare me. Like when I was in my real estate class years ago, 20 years ago to be exact. But I was in it and they were like, tomorrow you need to make sure you bring a calculator and we're going to melt your mind. And I'm like, okay. And
Yeah.
they're like, make sure it has the percent button on it. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do a percentage. So, but it's just what everybody's comfortable with. And I just happen to have
Right.
that background, so I love numbers.
I do too. Numbers are fun.
Yes. Yes, they are.
I don't know how many houses I would send you and be like, "Hey, Lorie,
What do you think about this? And that's the other thing.
what
When I
about this
first,
one?"
like, if somebody is the first time out and they send me houses that I know are not great, I'm still going to take them to those houses because that's their first time out. They need to see for themselves.
Yeah.
And then after that, when I get a little more comfortable with them, then I can say, like, so this house that you're asking about, if you look, like, right behind it is this big stanchion, or there's a really busy street behind it, or if you look at these pictures, it's not really, like, this room is kind of, they make it look really big, but it's not really big. And, so because I look at houses all the time. So
Yeah.
I know all the tricks of the trade and all that kind of stuff. So um, when Joshua was looking for houses before he decided on a new build, we would sit in the basement and I would throw up houses on the projector, and we would go room by room. And so it's on this big screen, and we're like, and I'd see like two pictures and I'd be like, okay, this is that floor plan that we talked about before. And he'd be like, how can you tell? I'm like, I've been in
A
so many
lot.
houses. So it's very easy to tell what the floor plan is. I mean, there's some that are different, but there's this one floor plan that I have seen more than any other. It's just like, I know exactly when I see the front room what we're looking at, um, so yeah, it's just a matter of, like, just it's experience
Do you ever
on
go
doing some of
tour,
those
like,
things.
go to open houses or go to, like, showings and stuff just because you wanna see the house, or do you only ever go
Oh
see
yeah.
houses with clients?
No, I actually have just started again. I have an appointment tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it, but on Fridays, I'll go to see houses just on my own. Like I'll schedule houses and just houses. I try to stay right here in Dublin where I'm at just because it's easier and I won't put
Yeah.
it off as much as I would if it was like, oh, I've got to drive to, Timbuktu. So I try to keep them right around here and just something that's new on the market that it's like, you know, hey, I just want to go see that. And, I let the agent know it's just an agent preview and I'll get feedback. I'm going to be open with that and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of fun to do that and just walk around sometimes and just see them on my own.
Without the
So
stress of the buying and selling, just kinda, "Let's go
yes,
shopping."
let's just go look and there's some pretty cool houses. I mean, it just even I saw one the other day that was so cool. It had KitchenAid avocado appliances and it
What does
looked like
that
they were
mean?
in pristine condition. The color avocado, I mean, straight out of the
Oh my
60s and
goodness.
70s. Yeah. There were some such cool, I mean, they were beautiful. Like I said, they looked like they were in great working order. You know what I mean? Like they were just old. But back then, things lasted a lot
Yeah,
longer.
they
So,
did.
I mean, your built-in oven was like that. It was an
Oh, dude, I
older
have no idea
oven.
how old it was, but it worked.
It worked fine. So, but it was just cool because it was in the wall, and so there were things in this house that were really neat like that, and it was like, oh, this is a cool house. So,
We have some friends and they own their house. At some point, they'll probably move again, but their
mhm.
favorite thing to do, particularly on Sunday afternoons, is they go call it their date, and they just go around and see open house signs. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
let's go in there and let's go."
let's go.
Especially their
Yeah,
favorite thing to do is go to open houses for houses that are, like, well beyond their budget just because
sure,
they're like, "We get to go see
absolutely.
all the cool things." And I remember they
Yeah.
did it one Sunday, and afterwards, he couldn't find his wallet, and they were like, "We saw, like, 5 houses today. Who
Oh
knows where your wallet's
no,
at?" And I think it
that's
ended up being in the
horrible.
car or something, like, they
That's
found
funny.
it. There was a moment
Yeah.
where they were both went,
Have to go back, knock on the door. Hello. No, I love going to any kind of houses, but especially, I mean, a beautiful house is so much fun to go to. But that's why I loved the Parade of Homes and going to look at model homes. Like the builder, builds a really nice model home, and then they've got all the bells and whistles in it, and that's just fun. But the Parade of Homes. I remember one year we went. Gosh, this was years and years. Um, Probably in like I want to say 1998 or 1999. It was before 2000. So it was many years ago. And we went to the Parade of Homes and there was this cool, you get a magazine when you go and stuff. And there was this cool, like, um, 3D painting on the wall. And it was like a baseball, like it was coming through the wall,
"That's cool."
like out of the wall. And so I saved that picture and it's just like a magazine picture. I saved it until we bought the house we were in last. And in Joshua's room, I had a friend paint. She's an amazing artist. Paint like a UK basketball coming through the wall, and it's the coolest thing ever. And we painted over it when we sold it. That was very difficult, but we knew that that's not the kind you need to
Yeah,
paint things like that. But I took many pictures of it and I framed a picture of it to put in Joshua's room and kind of thing. But yeah, so things like that, like we could not have afforded any of those houses, but I can get an idea
right.
from that house and use it in my house. So that's the kind of neat thing about it. So
What
yeah.
advice would you give people who are looking to set themselves up to buy a home, particularly, like,
Hmm.
first-time home buyers? Like,
Yeah.
what should they be focusing on if, like, in the next, say, 6 to 9 months, they wanna buy a house?
Yeah. I'd say the first thing is talk to a lender. And if you don't have a lender, that's when you start engaging your real estate agent immediately. Even if it's going to be a year. I mean, I talk to people like that all the time that it's going to be, 6 months to a year before they buy a house. But I talk to them. I usually just, kind of run through the process with them. I get them to give them two or three lenders that they can talk to, that they feel comfortable with. And then that lender can look at their finances, because I don't need to look at their finances. The lender can look at their finances and say, hey, it would be best if you pay this car off, or you pay this student loan off, or you close this, not close a credit card, but like pay it off or whatever.
Right.
Just the lender can tell you those things to do to raise your credit. And sometimes that can happen quicker, but it's a good thing to get that going early, because it could take 6 months, or it could take even longer, but like last year I met with a couple, and we met in January, and we were like, they're like, we probably will not move until like June, or even through the summer sometime, because we have a lease. Like, that's perfect. I said, let's just maybe every other week, or, whatever. If you see a house that you think, this is a really cool house, let's go see it. And I said, that house will be gone. So you're not looking to buy, you're looking to get price, location, and condition. So that when you are ready to buy, then you can say, like, oh, I've already seen 6 houses before we even started the real intense
Right.
buying process. I know what I'm looking for. And then that helps me to know what they're looking for too. So we probably saw 2 houses in January, 3 in February, 4 in March, and then in April and May, we really started hunkering down, and they bought a house in June. But they did lose out on a couple of houses because of multiple offers. But when they found the house they were looking, that they eventually bought, then it was like, oh, we loved it. Like, we're so excited to finally get this house. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of houses that people can like, and there's a lot of houses that are very similar. So it's, if now the house that you were in, you're not going to find a similar one to that. That's harder to find a similar one. But if it's, there's can be a lot of houses that are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's my advice, is that the sooner you get started, if you know you're going to buy a house within a year, I would say you should start talking to an agent and a lender.
And
And
that's such
I'm
a
not
good way
going
to
to,
do it, because I remember
yeah,
when I was buying, it was it wasn't necessarily decision fatigue, but it was almost like shopping fatigue of like,
yeah,
I know I have a deadline of when I need to have a house by because my
yeah.
lease is ending, right? I have to be out of
Mm-hmm.
the place I'm living. And so you're trying to look at all of these houses, and you hit a point where you're like, I've seen
Yes.
so many houses. I don't even remember, like, I
Right.
don't even remember them all. I don't remember what I liked about all of them. I don't remember what I didn't like about all of them. I just know
Right.
now I'm stressed, and we're 2 weeks closer to me having
Yeah.
to move out of where I'm at. And it's just it
Exactly.
sounds so much more relaxing to just, like, casually peruse things for
Yeah.
6 months, and, like, because a lot of that's, I mean, that's what a lot of it is, like, you go, "I think I wanna live in this area," and then you go look at houses in the area, and you're like, "Well, they've all got,
Maybe not.
this HOA, or they've all got these
Yeah.
fencing rules, or there's all this, or and you maybe I don't wanna live in that area," and it's like, well, if you know
Mhm.
that months in advance,
Then
it
you
makes
can
it so much more
refocus.
relaxing.
Yeah. Nope, that's right. And typically, even though I do see a lot of houses, I can remember things like, somebody will send me a house after we've seen a house that had 1 bathroom. And this house will say it has 2 bathrooms, but one's in the basement and one's on the second floor, or something to that effect. And, I'll just point out, it's like, listen, I don't mind showing you this house, but it does not have a private bath on the primary. And they're like, oh my gosh, no, we don't want that house. It was just, but it's very hard to tell from pictures sometimes, and it's hard to tell from the description. And so I know how to look at those things, and I remember the things that are important to the buyer. I mean, that's my job. So the other funny thing is, buyers will say, oh, I hate to bother you. And I'm like, this is my job. You're not bothering me. My job is selling houses, and to sell houses, I have to show houses. So I love to see houses, but it's just funny because they're like, I hate to ask you to show me this again. I'm like, no. So it's just funny.
I remember I would look at Alyssa regularly and be like, is 6 p.m. too late to send Lorie a text? Will she care if I send her a Zillow listing at this point? Because like she doesn't have to do anything with it tonight because it's late, but I have it in front of me now. Is she gonna
Yes.
mind? I feel so bad like being like house, house, house. But she'd probably tell
No.
me if she minded, right?
I do not mind that at all. If it's too late, I just won't respond. But most of the time, I mean, I've responded to people at 10 o'clock at night sometimes because I know, especially in that crazy buyer time, is I know if we don't get that house scheduled tomorrow morning, they may not get in it.
Yeah.
Because especially during COVID, you couldn't overlap showings, and that carried on for a while. And so you had 15-minute windows sometimes to get into a house, and those would fill up. Like, it's hard to believe, but they would fill up. And so yeah, if it's somebody just starting out looking and they text me at 10 o'clock at night, I'll just read it the next morning. If it's somebody that's like hot and heavy and is like, we want to see this tomorrow, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to text them back. I'm going to schedule it. I mean, that's just the job. So I don't mind.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much realtors do. Like, I certainly didn't. Even before we bought the house, and then when we sold the house even, I was like,
right,
he's done so much work, and there's all this research, and there are these papers, and like, I didn't have to do anything. This was so nice.
That's right. And that's
great.
That's my job, is to take the stress, as much of the stress as possible, out of it for you. So, and I love it. I mean, it's a great job.
Do you ever follow up with people when they're like, look, we're still in the house you sold us 10 years later, and we did this and we did that?
I try to send people a text every year on their house anniversary.
Oh.
And so it's just kind of nice to look back, and I have all of them in my calendar. And, it's like, and it's funny because I'll see, like, saw a house come up on a street that I just immediately recognized as a street that one of our clients lived on. And so I sent it to him, and I said, oh, just, saw this and thought about you all. And, and they were like, oh, that's our neighbors that are moving, and we're so sad that they're moving, but we love our house. And so, I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, Mike and I lived in our house for 21 years. So I love it when people find a house, when I can help them find a house that they can live in for years and years. That's awesome, because they may not be my client again and again and again, but most likely they're going to tell somebody like, hey, you should use her because she helped us find this great house that we've loved for 20 years. So there's, either way it works. Like, if somebody wants to move every 3 years, I'm not opposed to that. Go right ahead. But it also is very exciting to me when I see somebody that just love their house and they stay and stay and stay.
Thanks for listening, friends. I hope you enjoyed the conversation this week. Thanks again to Lorie for taking time to chat and share her many years of knowledge and insight into an often confusing area of life. Thanks for listening to another episode and being part of the show week after week. Be sure and follow on Spotify and YouTube so you never miss an episode. Leave a like, comment, or review so we can connect more deeply about the episode topics as well. I can't wait to see what the next conversation brings. Until next week, let's talk about it.